Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown, where we talk about 2A news and conservative views. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name is Mike Borski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most, from the co-host with the most here on the Rundown. 2A views, conservative news. Craig, it's a special day.
Taco Tuesday.
I was like, where are you going?
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a treat.
You know, Mike, it's funny. I have so many darn t-shirts. I totally forgot I had my Taco Tuesday t-shirt.
I get a Taco Tuesday t-shirt, but it's just a regular t-shirt stained with tacos.
Yeah, I got a few of those too.
You should see my hump day shirt.
I don't even want to know. Let's just leave it at that, okay? Let's stop that right there. How about that?
Okay, all right. Yeah.
In any case, how is your Taco Tuesday going thus far?
Oh, very good, very good. Had some street tacos for lunch today. It's my favorite street taco cart. So I am doing well. I am taco-fied.
Excellent. I have no idea what we're going to be doing for Taco Tuesday, except I'm pretty sure it's going to involve tacos.
There you go. That's a good thing.
We shall see. We shall see.
Very good,
Well,
very good.
lots of good stuff to report on today, so let's go ahead and jump into it first by giving that first shout-out to our sponsors.
Yeah, let's say hi to Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. Odds are if you got yourself an AR in the past 5 years, probably got one of their barrels, don't even know it. Now you can buy from them direct for your next AR build or rebarrel your current rifle. And soon, coming to you soon, all kinds of Glock barrels from Hitman Industries. So check them out at hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. Hog holsters, the best in tactical concealed holsters on the market. Check out HAWGholsters.com. That's hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all one word, no spaces, all caps. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, hiking gear, get on over to our friends at uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. So do us a favor, do them a favor, do yourself a favor. Visit them online. The links to the links to their websites are in the description of this program. So all you got to do is click on there, check them out, spend some money with them, and make sure that you tell them it was the guys over at the Rundown that sent you. Also, want to remind you, if you haven't already done so, please make sure like, share, subscribe. However you are partaking of the program, we'd like you to encourage your friends to do the same. We don't care how you partake, whether you're listening to the podcast or the audio version of the podcast, or you're watching us on one of the various different channels where we are available. Just make sure that you partake, and once again, encourage your friends to do the same.
Yep, there you go.
All right, now we're just going to jump right into this because yesterday we didn't get a chance to talk about it at all. The Durham report is out. Now, for those of you who, you had your heads buried in the sand for the last several years, there's been a report. There's been an investigation that's being done regarding the investigation into former President Donald Trump, or former President, soon-to-be President Donald Trump, some might say. But the whole thing had to do with Russian collusion. You remember that they actually spied on his campaign. The intelligence agencies actually decided to spy on his campaign and then continued to do investigations and probes for at least the first 2 years of his administration, really kind of bringing a lot of things to a halt, really making it difficult for him to be able to do his job. Well, as a part of what they did, they actually launched an investigation, and they brought in a special counsel John Durham, in order to investigate and take a look at. Once it was deemed that there was nothing to this report, they wanted to find out, how did this happen? Because in the end, this played a major role not just in his administration and his ability to do his job, but it played a big role in his re-election campaign. And what's funny about it is that when you go and you read this 300-page report that came out, clearly there is no doubt that this was an investigation that never should have happened.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a surprise to anybody on the right. Everybody knew that this investigation never should have happened, and it was all, like you said, it was, his administration. It was deflection there, as well as election interference. It was pretty clear to all of us then that knew it was politically motivated, and now it's here you go. It's documented by their own special counsel.
Well, and Mike, the hard part about this in the legal analysis that I've seen is, the problem is that the case that they're making is really hard to prove. There's really, the minimal prosecutions that there have been was basically the guy who lied on the FISA application. And because that was one that's just, look, there's absolutely positively no way you don't provide that. You don't provide it for, he deliberately left out information. But with everybody else, it was, you have to get into their head and determine what their motivation was. Otherwise, what you say is, they just made a mistake. And what really pisses me off is you have a bunch of Democrats right now who refuse to admit that it was a mistake, that mistakes were made. And what's funny is, here you have even folks at the FBI, right, acknowledge that there were issues and there were problems, and that they've had to take corrective action as a result of the stuff that came out in this investigation. But you still have Democrats out there saying that he colluded with the Russians and refuse to acknowledge that they were wrong.
Yeah, and they won't. They're what is it? The old I'm trying to remember the general's name. He used to say they're stuck on stupid. They can't get past it. They're gonna be where Russell Honoré, that was the general's name. They're stuck on the lie, and they're never going to let it go. They're going to stick with it until they go to their graves.
But the problem is this, and this is one of the things that I think that Durham did in this was, he kind of came out and really kind of focused and talked about, okay, what do we do now? Because not so much that he said, what do we do now? But part of it is, and what a lot of people are saying is, well, what do we do now? So you've got the FBI, who supposedly has changed their ways, but we've seen in the post-Trump era the number of supporters of Donald Trump who are still being prosecuted to this day. So it's still not. I mean, everybody who got prosecuted under Trump were either they were investigated and were convicted of, or charged with and convicted of, things that had nothing to do with Donald Trump or with the Trump campaign or anything, or the Russia investigation, or they were accused of lying or not providing information, right? So in other words, they were charged with not ratting on Donald Trump.
Right. Yeah, right. Is that amazing that's what it ended up being? And again, like I said, no surprises here to any of us that paid attention to things like, what are they, Craig? Oh, facts. That's what they are. Anybody that paid attention to the facts rather than the allegations and accusations here.
Right. Anyway, it was clear and obvious that number one, there was no legitimate reason for an investigation into Donald Trump. Number two, that the foundation of that investigation, which was the Russian dossier, was paid for by the Clinton campaign and was pushed and promoted by Clinton campaign operatives, and once again was used to basically thwart the effectiveness of a president, and quite frankly, to help make sure that he did not get reelected. So while I am not one who necessarily subscribes to the the election machines were tampered with and therefore the election was stolen. This is just one more piece of evidence that that they attempted that the election was stolen via the media, stolen via misinformation. It's one thing. It's just one more piece of evidence that Donald Trump has a legitimate beef about, or at least in some areas, he has a legitimate beef about the how the election was handled.
Absolutely, in many areas, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, there you go. Moving on to the next story, and this is one that really works my nerves. So, in New York City, now in New York they've now dealt with, I believe they've had somewhere around tens of thousands now. New York has probably gotten, of all the major cities, has probably gotten more of the border crossers than probably many of the big cities, except for those that are on the southern border. Well, their response has been, I don't even want to say interesting, because it's not interesting. It's sickening is what it is. So what they've been doing is they've been taking homeless veterans, people who are homeless in various hotels, and they've actually been evicting them and putting in their place those who have crossed our southern border, immigrants who have been sent to New York City. And I'll read just a little bit of the article here. It says New York hotels are reportedly evicting homeless veterans to house migrants in their place. The swap would give the hoteliers an additional profit of $100 a night on average, a move that has angered veterans' rights activists. Now, I'm not justifying what the people who run the hotels are doing, but I think it's kind of clear that the government provided the incentive for them to do it.
Yeah, you're right, and it's over 50,000 of the illegal immigrants that have been sent to New York City over the past year at a cost of something like $1 billion. The city estimates it's going to cost them, but they're doing this now at the cost of the veterans. All right, now New York City has this no homeless law where the city has the ability to co-opt hotels and other buildings and put homeless people in them, and that's the majority of what you see at the hotels now. But when it comes to the cost of displacing veterans that were homeless to put illegal migrants in there, I mean, come on, we know where your moral compass is, and it's stuck on the left. It has nothing to do with right or wrong anymore.
Right. Yeah. So according to this Newsweek article, they're saying 60,000. But like I said, what gets me is that, okay, so why are we paying more to house, illegal immigrants than we are to house, which by the way, okay, so here's another problem I've got. All right. So the reason why the administration says that it doesn't call them undocumented or illegal immigrants is because many of them are actually being processed and led into the country. So even though they just crossed our border without permission, well, we say without permission, but clearly if you cross the border and then I give you a piece of paper that says show up to court in 2026, are you really illegal?
Well, absolutely, you're still illegal. You illegally came across the border. You were given paperwork. That doesn't mean you're not here illegally.
Right.
You're not allowed in the country under the current law, but we're going to give you some paperwork according to the current administration, and then we're going to pretend you're not here illegally.
Right. Well, and that's what it is. And I wanted you to make that distinction. The problem is, folks, is you have people who are crossing our southern border illegally, coming into the country illegally, and instead of saying, look, you've got to wait till your paperwork is processed and we determine whether or not you should be allowed to come into the United States, become a legal resident of the United States. Instead, you just come in. It's like someone just moving into your house and you're like, yeah, we'll determine whether or not you're a legal resident of this house, sometime in the next 3 to 5 years. In the meantime, the person is living in your home.
Yep. Exactly. That's exactly what's going on. And if it was any place else but the federal government, everybody would be in jail.
Well, and the way they're talking about it is every time they don't want resources to help secure our southern border. They want resources to make it easier and faster to process people illegally coming into the country.
Yep. Yeah, and again, the veterans in New York are the ones that are the victims of this, because to this administration, the incentive money is there more for illegal immigrants than it is for veterans. So we're going to offer an extra $100 to house the illegal immigrant, rather than to house the homeless veteran.
Right,
so
$100 per night.
Yeah, more.
Yeah, $100 per night more. Anyway, it's ridiculous. All right, moving right along. Will Cain used to have a host a radio show on ESPN. I used to be a sports commentator on ESPN. So now he's with Fox News. He's one of the hosts of their weekend show, of their weekend morning program, as well as in this week, I believe he was hosting for. He was in the slot that he's been in the slot that normally where you would find Tucker Carlson, who no longer is there. But he came out with an interesting conversation. And we was talking about Ja Morant. Now, you may not know, if you don't follow the NBA, then you probably don't know who he is. But he is a young phenom with the Memphis Grizzlies, who, for the second time in recent history, several months ago, there was an incident where he had a picture taken of him where he was brandishing a firearm, or he had a firearm. And now there's an Instagram video. And by the way, he was suspended for, I think, like 8 games. Then now there's another incident where he's basically in an Instagram video. He's riding in the car with a friend of his, and the music playing, and they see him with the firearm. And now he's been suspended. The season's over, but he's now been suspended. But Will Cain raises an interesting question. And, in the post show the other day or yesterday, Mike and I were talking about this. And Will Cain raises the question. He says, Will Cain's Second Amendment defense for Ja Morant, can he not do what he wants? And he really has this conversation in Twitter where he says, explain to me something. Does Ja Morant have 2A rights? Can he not do what he wants outside of his work environment if it's still legal? It may be stupid, but I don't know what he's done to be suspended. Mike, I'll throw it to you and kind of ask you what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, Craig, I think the reason we didn't do the story yesterday, we talked about it, was because we didn't know what he did to be considered, illegal. Now, I have no idea, and I haven't Googled it, haven't searched it up. I have no idea if he's got a previous conviction for a firearm, if he's got some kind of conviction that prevents him from having a firearm. I don't know if he's made a deal with the collective bargaining agreement with the NBA there to not display firearms because of their moral standard for firearms with kids. I have no idea if he's entered into some kind of agreement like that. I really don't know if this guy's got a reason, whether it be civil side with the NBA or criminal side, that prevents him from having a firearm. And that's really the cause of this. Need to know those facts before I can give you an honest opinion on whether or not this guy's rights have been violated. I would say right off the bat that they shouldn't be violating anybody's rights. But again, I need to know the history of the person before I could, give you an opinion on that.
I would venture to say that if he were breaking the law, there probably would be, in particular involving firearms, he probably would be. At the very least, you would hear law enforcement, it would be investigating him. But law enforcement said there's no investigation into Ja Morant, nothing in terms of him breaking the law or anything like that. Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, which is where he's at, does happen to be an open carry state. Now, I don't know the difference between. There's a difference between open carrying a firearm and brandishing a firearm. I think, I just think it's a PR issue, quite frankly. I think that I'm wondering, I'd like to see from his last suspension, what paperwork he signed that said, hey, I'm not going to do this sort of stuff anymore. because if he signed paperwork saying I'm not going to do videos or take photos with firearms, and then he took videos or photos with firearms, that was kind of dumb, dude. You said you wouldn't, and you did. Now, if you want to contest whether or not they can require that of you, that's a different story.
Yeah, and again, like you said, the police there said they're not investigating it, but Craig, a video like this without a threat being made is nothing to even waste the police's time on. I mean, first off, how do you prove it's an actual firearm? How do you prove where he is, whose jurisdiction he's in? It's a waste of time. This is not like when you see on the news, some kid flashing a firearm and saying he's taking it to school. That's something where there's a potential threat. An adult with a potential firearm is not a potential threat, and there's really no reason to bother the law enforcement unless it turns out he's got legal reasons for not being able to carry it. But again, I think it comes down to what his agreement with the NBA.
Right. And the other thing is keep in mind that the people who are judging this guy chances are they're in one of the media centers, which, for example, is probably like New York or Los Angeles, where although behavior like this is probably common amongst a lot of the residents, it's frowned upon by those in media and in politics.
Yeah, because remember, in New York City, there's really no one is carrying personal firearms, unless you're one of those 2,000 that have a concealed permit that are friends of the mayor kind of nonsense. In Los Angeles, much the same way.
Well, but Mike, and the other thing that this deals with is, and what I appreciate about your response in particular is, there's a lot of nuance that's involved in issues, and in particular relating to firearms. And most people aren't interested in taking the time to get into the nuance, right? They're not interested in finding out what really happened in the nitty gritty to determine whether or not it should be on this side or the other side. They just saw, oh, there's a dude with a firearm. Now, what's been interesting about the way the NBA has handled it is like this is a young black man with a firearm. And they're like, okay, so how do we not be racist against the young black man while at the same time not allow the glorification of firearms?
Yep.
Two conflicting social justice messages.
Yep, absolutely right.
Okay, and finally, CNN viewership has been, it's been down ever since Donald Trump has no longer been president. I mean, one of the best things that happened to CNN was January 6th and them carrying out then once again, I'm not praising January 6th. I'm saying for CNN, it was a reason for them to keep Donald Trump in the news cycle because that's really all they had. They couldn't follow his tweets. I mean, because, he wasn't tweeting anymore. But people just stopped watching once Donald Trump was no longer president. And so as a result, CNN viewership has actually tumbled. And it has tumbled so far that CNN is now below Newsmax. Now, CNN is available on just about every cable network that is out there, right? I don't know whether it's Xfinity or Comcast, or whether it's AT&T, or it's Hulu, or it's YouTube TV. All of them have CNN, and a bunch of them do not have Newsmax. And yet, more people are watching Newsmax than are watching CNN. Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Yeah, I'm a Spectrum guy here where we live. That's the only choice we have. And Newsmax here is a paid subscription app you have to add to it. And it's still, getting better viewership than CNN. Craig, I'm just going to go crazy here. I'm going to say if CNN wants to get viewers back, they need to do something radical like, I don't know, maybe a town hall with Donald Trump.
That's not a bad idea. Somebody should talk to them about that.
Yeah, they should see about doing that. You make a business decision.
I did. It's funny. I did a panel, and literally the host refused to acknowledge that. Yeah, no, it kicked everybody's butt in the ratings. I mean, there was nobody that was even close in that time slot.
Yeah, what's ironic about that town hall It was so bad politically for CNN that if you go to every source that CNN is on and search to watch it, it's not available to watch. CNN is not offering it for viewership. You can get, little tidbits of newscasts playing it, but you cannot go back and watch the town hall.
Yeah, well, because he so thoroughly kicked the reporter's butt.
Yeah.
It was just it was poorly thought out. But hey, they got the ratings.
Yeah, that's it. It was a business decision for him. Yep.
It was definitely a business decision for them. All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to our parting shots, brought to you by Hog Holsters. Go to hogholsters.com, get your hog holster today by using the discount code The Rundown. All caps, no spaces. Get your hog holster today. All right, our first one, well, in honor of the Durham investigation, the Durham report. Release Donald Trump. Release Donald Trump was right all along. And I love this. Here you got the little CNN chyron, and it says, Special Counsel Durham concludes FBI never should have launched Trump-Russia probe. And that's on CNN.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I love a good meme, but I also love good punctuation. This should say, the Durham report, comma.
Yep.
Or excuse me, the Durham report release, comma.
Yep.
Donald Trump was right all along.
Yep, exactly. Very, very bad. Very, very bad. Very, very bad grammar. Now, someone who should be investigated, but we're not hearing much about it, and this is another investigation that's kind of out there by the House Judiciary Committee. This is an image of Joe Biden sitting in a washing machine with a bunch of cash. And it says Biden family business. And at the bottom it says spin cycle. And there's bags of cash with one from Romania, one from China, one from Ukraine. And it says, this is not, or Joe Biden saying, this is not what it looks like.
No, definitely not. There's no improprieties here at all between him and those countries and their the paychecks that they're writing to the Bidens or other Bidens in the Biden Foundation. None at all. None whatsoever.
Well, and admittedly, they've got to figure out. I mean, I hate to say this, but I really don't want James Comer to be, or James, Comer, the head of the committee. I really don't want him to be the Republican Adam Schiff. So I'm like, dude, you got to bring the goods. We need to see the evidence. Not just accusations, but we need to see the evidence, because what we're looking at in this picture right here is exactly what it looks like. But I'm like, okay, we kind of need to see the actual evidence supporting it. So hopefully soon.
Yep.
Other investigations that will never happen. This is an image. It's got Joe Biden. It's got a number of different females, about 10 different pictures of female women. And it says all of these women have accused Biden of sexual assault. But we're not seeing any stories in the mainstream media about any of them, are we?
Yeah, this is the creepy Joe is this portion. Yeah, the creepy Joe portion of the program.
What percentage of them do you think involved the sniffing of hair?
All.
Probably all. And by the way, this is tangentially related. This last one is tangentially related to this one. You want to describe this one to the folks?
Sure, it's a couple of pie charts here. And the first one is the causes of rape. It says provocative clothing, alcohol, flirtation, walking alone, television, or rapists. And 100% cause of rapes are rapists. And then we have the causes of mass shooting. Includes assault weapons, magazine capacity, the NRA, the Second Amendment, Islam, and mass shooters. And guess what, Craig? 100% causes of mass shootings are mass shooters.
Funny how that works, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, but you won't get the mainstream media or the left to acknowledge any of that.
Nope, definitely not.
There you go.
Definitely not.
All right, Mike. Well, that's going to be just about it for today. But before we go, how about we do that shout out to our sponsors?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's say hey to our good friends over at Hitman Industries. That's hitmanindustries.net. You can get rifle and pistol caliber barrels in different various lengths that you desire. You can also soon get Glock barrels from hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you could take part in California's future today. Particularly, I'd watch out for the California 6th district there. And then, of course, you want some awesome field gear, tactical gear, get on over to uscombatgear.com.
That's right, folks. Please take a moment, visit our sponsors. The links to their websites are in the description to this program. And with that, we will call it a day. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing the program. And we will be back tomorrow on Hump Day.